Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of YouCube. This is episode 5, and today we're discussing Resident Evil, the remake on the Nintendo GameCube. Because it is this month, September, in the UK at least, where it marks the 20th anniversary, which is weird because the game still holds up.
Yeah, graphically it still looks insanely good.
Yeah. Yes, and the improvements on the graphics from the first Resident Evil, which was 6 years prior, I think, 96.
96.
Yeah, is like insane, especially
Yeah.
when you consider it to the latest remake that everyone's buzzing about that's been released.
Is that The Last of Us?
Yes, because the first Last of Us was so unplayable, and so bad to look at. The controls were so.
Didn't they come out on PS3?
Yeah, and then it
And
got
then
remastered on PS4.
and then
They've remade it on PS5. Like, I don't get it.
No.
Like, yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, I do get it because it's like Grand Theft Auto and Skyrim in a way. They just re-release it again and again because they know people will buy it.
But the PS5's backwards compatible with PS4 games, right?
Yes.
So you could just have it on PS4 and put it in your PS5 and play it.
I mean, you could, but then it's not better graphics because, like I said, the first one was so bad graphically. Like, it makes N64 games look really playable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That bad, was it?
it was that bad. Like, you can't see faces, people's hands are just blocks, their eyes, they don't blink. The voice acting's all like, hello there. It's just complete. So that I can understand why they remade it.
I bet the controls were terrible as well.
Oh, yeah, it would probably be like 2-button controls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these people in the comments that don't understand sarcasm are going to be like, "Oh, I played Last of Us and it was really playable." Blah 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 blah.
Yes, but what we're getting at is that it didn't really need a remake.
Yeah. Whereas Resident Evil
did.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you
And
compare the two, the original and then the remake, such a stark contrast.
Well, you're going from obviously the original one being on PlayStation as well, which was like really such like a weak, underpowered console, especially when you compare it to like the N64.
Yeah.
Like graphically, so it's not even you're not even jumping from like N64 to GameCube. You're jumping from like PS1 to GameCube.
Yeah.
So it's like a massive, massive leap.
But it's not just the graphics they improved on. Like, I mean, I'll talk about it more in a moment. But there are a lot more improvements than just graphically.
I have to have a confession for everyone on this video. I've never played it, but I have watched Resident Evil 1 be completed several times by multiple different people, mainly being you, Daniel, and Mark.
Okay. Fair enough. So
I couldn't find a Space World pre-thing for it, preview, but I found an article in Games Master of when the news broke about Resident Evil.
Okay, I look forward to hearing that.
I don't know if you want to do your facts first.
Fact time, everyone. Fact time.
What's that from?
I don't know.
I swear that's from something.
Who knows? It just came to me.
Yeah.
Just now.
If you know, put it in the comments.
Yeah. So obviously it was developed and produced by Capcom. You know, it was directed by Shinji Mikami. Heard of him?
Yes.
Yes, he did Disney's Aladdin.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
What a change!
I know. Yeah, he did Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Code Veronica, Resident Evil 0, Disney's Aladdin, and then like loads of others. But after I read Disney's Aladdin, I was like, don't need to know anymore.
No.
I don't know if he like directed Disney's Aladdin or if he was just like had some involvement in it, maybe like produced it. But yeah, very weird. It was released in Japan, 22nd of March, 2002.
Day before your birthday.
Yep. And then in America, it was released on the 30th of April in 2002. And then in Europe, it was the 13th of September.
And as usual, Europe got shafted on the release date.
Yep. But I significantly remember this because I remember reading the release date of the 30th of April, and obviously my birthday's at the end of March, so I had some money, and I was like, I'm going to get Resident Evil. It comes out very, very soon. I only have to wait a month. The date rolled around and it wasn't released. I was like, why isn't it out yet? And then I must have read somewhere that it was like coming out later. So I bought NBA Courtside on the GameCube.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead. And then I don't know why, because it wasn't amazing. I just think I wanted to buy a game. I had that money set aside for a game, and I was like, I will get a game.
And you're like, NBA Jam was good.
Yeah, I think this was like the first NBA game I played that was realistic. And then 2K came along, I'm guessing, and EA maybe 2K. I don't know what order.
Don't know. I know there was I can't remember who used to do the arcade games. Was it Sega that did like
Acclaim?
the basketball? Acclaim maybe that did the basketball arcade games we used to play in the arcade. They're pretty fun.
May
They're
have
slightly
been.
more realistic.
It might have been Acclaim. Maybe I think they did Space Jam, NBA Jam.
Yeah, Midway.
Oh, Midway.
But
Yeah.
I think Acclaim did Acclaim publish some Midway stuff? I don't know. It's all very confusing.
Yeah,
It's all a blur back then.
I know. Yeah, the game was obviously re-released on the Wii in 2008/2009, depending on your country, and then it came out on the PS3, PS4, Xboxes, etc. 2014, 2015, and then re-released again on the Switch in 2019. So it's had a lot of generations have been able to pick this up and play it. It's not massively expensive.
No, it's on the Switch eShop. It was $12.99 in Canadian dollars.
That's not bad.
I almost bought it, but then I was like, will I play it? Probably play it for 5 minutes and be like, oh, it's too scary, and then not play it.
I mean, yeah, some parts of it are scary. Another fact I had, it wasn't part of the Capcom 5 that Nintendo had a deal with Capcom for.
No?
No. So the
That's weird.
the Capcom 5 consisted of PNO3,
Yep.
Beautiful Joe,
Yep.
Resident Evil 4, Killer 7, and then a cancelled game called Dead Phoenix.
Oh.
But it was part of an exclusivity deal that we touched on briefly in a previous video.
Yeah.
With like Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica, etc. appearing on, and 0 appearing on Nintendo.
It was interesting as well because when I read the article announcing the the announcement of everything with the Resident Evil games coming to the GameCube, it was reported initially that they were going to remake 1, 2, and 3, and Code Veronica.
Yeah.
But then they never did. They only remade 1.
And then ported 2 and 3.
Yeah, and they ported the rest.
I mean, it's not too bad, I guess.
Yeah. It could have been it just got mistranslated and reported wrong in the British media.
Yeah, possibly.
And that was their intention all along, or whether sales-wise things didn't go so well, so they reneged on it.
Well, yeah, it didn't do massively. I mean, it did alright, I suppose, before considering, but back then, video games weren't as big as they are today. It sold 1.3 million on the GameCube.
It's pretty good, considering the GameCube was only been out for like, what, 6 months?
Not that's like in its lifetime on GameCube. Not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's got a 91 out of 100 Metacritic score. And magazine publications gave it like an 8 to 9 out of 10, with Famitsu magazine giving it 39 out of 40.
Pretty good score.
Yeah, almost a perfect Famitsu score. The game featured 3D models on a pre-rendered background. They stuck to all of their original camera fitting like screens and stuff, but what they did is they adjusted the lighting effects on it so that when you'd go past a window, like you'd see flashes of the lightning like reflect on the shadows, like on the walls, just to give it that creepy vibe. Production on this game started in 2001. And
What?
yeah,
What? At the beginning of 2001, I would have thought.
I'm guessing so. They hired actors for motion capturing, and 60% of the captures, or the 60% of the animations, are through the motion capture. So 40% of all the movements in the game are like done from scratch.
When did you say it came out in Japan? March 22nd.
Yeah,
So 2002,
yeah,
and they started it in 2001.
yeah.
So if they started it after the end of March, that means they made it in less than a year.
No, I
But if
think I
they
read.
started it
I
before,
think they read.
it
I
would still
read.
only be like 14 months.
I think I read like the last 2 months of the development. It was like non-stop. No one was allowed any time off. Like the whole team was working like every day
Yeah,
to get it finished.
I bet. That's
Um,
an impressive game to knock out that quickly.
yeah, it is. Like they redid the whole script as well. They hired new voice actors to make the plot more compelling, which meant no more cheesy lines from Barry, such as "You were almost a Jill sandwich." They did keep something similar like that in the game, though, like in the same
Yeah.
spot where he says it in the original. He says something similar as like a homage.
That's what I remember about the PlayStation 1 version, is it just being like a B movie,
Well,
like in terms of dialogue.
someone told me on Twitter that the original on the PlayStation, Capcom just hired American actors that were living in Japan at the time
Yeah,
to do like, because the cutscenes on the original, like the beginning cutscene was
live action, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the voice actor would have been the same.
So they were just like, "Oh, you're a American guy in Japan.
Yeah,
Come here."
yeah. I always remember the original. There's a when Brad flies off in the helicopter, Chris just goes, "No, Brad, wait!" and it's like really bad. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much like a lot of the facts, facts that I have. There's just like a few other little bits where they added an alternative controller layout for the GameCube, where you're
Okay.
told R to move and then like the analog stick to steer, whereas I think R's shoot. You hold L
So
and I.
so they basically made the character into a car.
But yeah, it was. I didn't even know
Go
about this.
and steer.
Yeah, they added a subplot about Lisa Trevor, which was cut from the original game.
Don't know who that is.
Yeah,
Means nothing to
it's a
me.
character that her dad worked with Spencer, Mr. Spencer, who did the virus and everything.
Okay.
It's quite a sad story, really. And then they also added the Crimson Head zombies, which were horrible.
Yes, I remember you playing it and that happening
Yep.
because you weren't aware of those before it came out, were you?
No.
Because I remember you'd gone through a room previously, killed the zombies, left, and then you came back in and like this super zombie with like, what was it, like claws or
Yeah.
something that could like almost like 28 days later thing
Yep.
just came at you and you were just like, ah! And just left the room
Yeah.
again. You were like, what the hell
I
is
think
that?
it chases you through doors as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were scary. It also added defensive weapons, so if you got attacked, you could stab someone in the head with a knife or taser them.
Yeah.
A Canadian model actually was who Jill was modelled on for this
Oh,
game. Is
big up
a person
Canada.
called Julia Voth.
Never heard of her.
Another interesting little bit of trivia. The Capcom were going to get rid of the loading screens, you know, the doors,
Yeah.
but they left it in because they thought the fans would not like that original like aspect being removed from the game.
As a fan, would you have preferred it without the doors or
Mm, no, no. I feel like the doors added to like the tension.
the suspense?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's basically a lot of my trivia.
All right. Well, I'll read you what I found in Games Master when the news broke.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a big title. It's like Resident Evil now exclusive to the GameCube, and everyone was like, "What the is
Yeah.
going on with this?" So it says horrific news for PS2. Nintendo have bagsied the Resident Evil series exclusively for the GameCube. Yep, Capcom are remaking Resident Evil, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Nemesis, and Resident Evil Code Veronica for Nintendo's ace new console. Wow. But that's just the beginning. Things get even worse for Sony, as it is also announced that Resident Evil 4, originally heading for PS2, will now only be available on GameCube. These eye-popping, spine-shuddering shots are taken from the remake of the first game and show Chris Redfield in zombie-slaying action, out in Japan on 22nd of March 2002. This version looks even more gory than the original, and we can't wait to head back to Raccoon City and visit our old haunts. This is fantastic news for Ninty, as Resident Evil is a big hitter, one of those special games that people buy a console for. And with a gory survival horror game like this in their library, it should also prove once and for all that GameCube is not just a kids' console. Nintendo means business. The next move is with you, Xbox. Yeah. So I don't think people today would really understand like how big of a news that was,
Yeah.
because Resident Evil was very much like a PlayStation franchise. It'd
Yeah.
be almost like hearing like, oh, the new Zelda game is now on Xbox and all the old Zelda games are being remade for Xbox. You'd just be like, what? What's going on?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so big news with that.
And I don't know if people in Canada or America have this word bagsy, but it basically means like a shotgun. Like
Oh
when you go
yeah,
to the
I
car, like
forget that.
shotgun,
Yeah,
you know, shotgun that
people
room,
might not
shotgun the front
understand.
seat, it's essentially the same thing. You're
Do they
cool in
call?
it.
I noticed. I don't know if it's an English thing, but lots of like gaming publications in England refer or used to refer to Nintendo as Ninty for some reason. I don't know if that's a British thing or if that's
It's just laziness. They just couldn't be bothered to write out Nintendo.
yeah. So that's why I'm saying Ninty when I'm reading it. It basically is just Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah. People that don't get that. So with the game itself,
Yes.
I remember on the PlayStation it coming on a demo disc
Hmm.
and my older brother Daniel playing it, and then my mum saying that I wasn't allowed to watch him play it, which I was very annoyed about. And then next thing was Mark actually ended up getting the game, which is Ian's older brother. And I remember sitting in his room watching him play it, and then he did the bit where you walk down the corridor and the dogs jump through the window,
Oh yeah.
and I was like, nope, I'm out. And then, like that was it for me then. And then the next time was when obviously the GameCube version came out, and then you bought it, and then I think I just sat next to you as you started it and played through the whole game on a Saturday. I think I just sat there with you from start to finish, like in that one sitting, and
It's
just watched you do the whole
it's
game.
really weird, isn't it, that back then you would happily just sit there and watch someone play a game
Yeah, people do
because
that now, though, don't they?
yeah, but on
But
YouTube.
online.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
But
a game.
I remember my brother used to play the Resident Evils and Silent Hills, and I just used to sit there and just watch him.
Yeah,
We wouldn't even
hours.
yeah, we wouldn't even necessarily talk. I would literally just sit there in silence and watch him
Yeah,
and be like so
slightly.
entertained.
You'd have to be slightly behind him as well, because where
Yeah,
Mark had his TV and set up, he'd sit in his chair and be there, and you'd be slightly behind him, just
yeah,
silently watching.
yeah. But yeah, my experience of the very first Resident Evil was pretty similar to yours. Me and my brother Mark went round to my dad's one weekend. He took us to one of his friends, and I remember his friend saying, "Oh, Tony, my dad's name's Tony." He's like, "Oh, I've got got the PlayStation, got this new game called Resident Evil. Do you want to have a look?" And my dad's like, "Yeah, yeah." So he loads it up, and he gets to the dining room, goes in the corridor, and when you see the first zombie,
Yeah.
And my dad watches that. He's like, I think we should turn this off now. There's kids in the room, and I'm just sat there like, no, 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 don't turn it off.
It's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, but then so my brother then ended up buying Resident Evil 1. I don't think I ever played them on the PlayStation because whilst I enjoyed watching them, I was too scared to play them.
Yeah.
So I watched my brother play 1, 2, 3, and Code Veronica. But then I did buy, like you said, Resident Evil 1, and it's just, I loved every minute of it that I played it.
I remember you got so good that you were like doing like, well, what I would have deemed at the time like speed runs of it. Like you're going around doing like, oh yeah, I can do it in 3 hours now. Look, and you'd go around and get specific weapons and stuff like that. And like I'd just sit there like, why are you so good at this game? I can't understand.
Yeah,
Because I'd have a go and I'd just be absolutely awful. Couldn't even control the
it's the thing.
person. Much by a zombie.
Once you've played through it a few times, like you get to know what rooms you need to go in and what items are essential and what items can be skipped. But what I love about it is it does reward you for going into numerous rooms, like more than once.
Yeah.
A lot of games nowadays, you go into a room, you clear it, and you don't ever have to visit it again. But with the Resident Evil, like you'd go into one room and you'd get a piece of a puzzle, but you can't get the second piece until you've done something else somewhere else in the mansion. Then you'd have to go traipse all the way back through, avoiding the zombies that you ran away from because you didn't want to waste ammo.
That's another thing that's like with the Resident Evil series, like people who have played like say modern Resident Evil, they're very different games to like this one because
Yeah.
these ones are more like the original one is more like a puzzle. There's lots of puzzle elements and you've
Yes.
got to think. You've got to like manage your items because you can't even save it whenever you want, can you? You have
No.
to like
You
and
have to
there's
use a
only amount of
typewriter.
and you can only save a certain amount of times
You
because you
have to
need the
pick
ink
up. Yeah, you
ribbons.
have to pick up
Yeah.
ink ribbons to be able to save it.
And when you run out of ink ribbons, you can't save it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Mental.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, so you'd start the game with a choice of characters. You could play as Chris. This was before his boulder punching days. Or you'd play as
Boulder punching.
in Resident Evil 5. He punches a boulder into a volcano.
Does he?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's just like, oh, I'm gonna punch this and kill you, Wesker. Even though they're stood in a volcano, and you're like, oh, surely you'd just melt. But let's not talk about that. Let's just focus on the boulder punching for now. Yeah, so you could either play as Chris or Jill. They were different in certain ways. So Chris, well, I found Chris the harder playthrough, so I didn't really play as Chris a lot.
Yeah.
He had less inventory space, but he did do more damage to enemies and took more damage. But
Okay.
he just had 2 less inventory slots, which was really annoying. Whereas Jill had 8 instead of 6. She had a lockpick, so you could open like certain doors. Barry would sometimes come to her aid, whereas Chris just got Rebecca, who would just heal him. So yeah, and there was certain rooms you couldn't visit as one as you could the other, if my memory is correct. But yeah, I always played as Jill.
So Jill was basically like easy mode,
To some extent, yeah, because
but she had
Chris,
less health.
yeah, because where Jill gets the lockpick, Chris gets the lighter, so you don't have to pick up lighter fluid to burn the zombies. Because
And
if you
that
didn't,
stops them coming back as the Crimson Heads.
so you have to either blow their heads off or burn them once you've killed them.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of puzzles. They added a lot more to this game than the original, like the Lisa Trevor storyline. There was that room you mentioned about the dogs jumping through the window.
Yeah.
So I found out if you walk through that room rather than run, they don't jump through the window.
That's never knew that. Like,
Yeah,
imagine like I always that's like the one defining thing of Resident Evil that is always sticks in my mind. If anyone says to me just the words Resident Evil, just that image of those dogs crashing through that window, like
yeah,
just plays in my head. And to be like some people must have played it and never experienced that is madness to me.
Yeah. But I also read about the crows in the game as well. Apparently, they don't attack you if you walk.
Ah.
So there's certain rooms where there's crows, and yeah, they just don't attack you if you walk. If you run, they'll start like flying around, which will make you
Yeah.
panic and shoot at them. And then if you shoot at them, they attack you back.
I say, I guess then everyone I watched play it must have just been running around everywhere all the time.
Well, yeah, if you want to complete it quick, because the quicker you completed it, the better your rewards were. So you could unlock different guns and costumes and stuff.
Wasn't there different endings as well?
Yes, yes. So this game played heavily on replayability as well. So not only did you have two characters to choose from, but I think each character had like a good, a normal, and a bad ending.
Yeah.
So at the start of the game, depending on who you are, the other person gets kidnapped by the villain. In case you've never played a Resident Evil game before, I'm not going to say who that villain is, but he wears
You might do in a
sunglasses
quiz
even.
later.
He wears sunglasses even indoors at night. So
It's Bono.
so yeah, you
Spoilers.
towards the end you get a choice. Like if you don't rescue the other person, you'll get a bad ending.
Okay. See, I always thought that you played their storylines went side by side.
That's Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, I think that's what confuses me then. So Resident Evil 1, the stories are different depending on who you play as, essentially.
They're basically the same, but there's just like different things happen in each person's.
Yeah.
Because where Chris doesn't really interact with Barry, apart from like a couple of times, and Jill just never ever meets Rebecca in her story. So, but
Okay.
the different types of bosses as well was really good. You had the giant snake.
Yep.
That you come
I
across.
remember the snake.
Yep, called Yawn.
Yawn.
You face off against him twice. Once in the attic, and then once in the library. But when you fight him in the attic, you don't have to fight him. You just need to go into the attic to get a mask to open a coffin. So you just have to run past him into the fireplace, get the mask, and run out. Then that's that boss battle done.
I get the bosses of Resident Evil confused with Dino Crisis because I watched Mark sit and play Dino Crisis, and I like in my head when I was thinking about stuff for this video, and I'm like, oh yeah, the crocodile boss that like
that was Resident Evil 2.
Is that Resident Evil 2? Okay.
Yep.
See, I can't. I've just got these like snippets of like these grainy PS1 games in my head of like Mark doing these bosses. But that's the boss, which is a bit like the film Jaws, isn't it? Because the crocodile gets the canister in its mouth.
Yes.
Or you shoot it and it explodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on this one you also fight a shark.
Okay.
But the remake, you don't necessarily fight the shark. You just have to do a puzzle to drain the tank. But if anyone knows me, they know that I hate any game that has a shark in. If there's any game where I have to swim in the ocean, I am bricking it because I do not want to be attacked by a shark.
Oh, I fucking hate sharks as well.
Banjo-Kazooie was where this fear came from.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And then what else was I playing? Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Like sometimes you had to go and swim in the water to get a treasure, and there'd be sharks around. I'm like, nope, that's not for me.
You gave me a heart attack in Australia when we're out down Surfers Paradise and we'd rented the surfboards, and for somehow like the waves were coming and they sort of stopped and we drifted out quite far, didn't we? And I was trying to get Adam's attention because I was panicking. I had my hands and feet up on the surfboard going, Adam, get the Coast Guard! And he couldn't hear us. He could just see me waving. I'm just like going, yeah, with a thumbs up. And I'm just like, oh my God, we're going to die. And then you started drifting even further away from me. I'm like, just picturing just this shark's mouth coming up and just swallowing me whole. And then I look over at you, and then you suddenly you're off your surfboard screaming. And I'm like, oh my God, Ian's being eaten. So I like managed to get over to you thinking I'm going to like pull you out of the water with your legs missing or something. And you're just like, oh, I've got cramp. I've got cramp in my leg.
I remember that.
Yeah. And then we were like, because I was off the surfboard, obviously like checking that you were right. And then I was like, oh, I could touch the bottom. That's weird because we were out really far and like it was previously like just black deep underneath us. Turns to one side and just this wall of water just like slams us, and then next thing I know, I'm just like tumbling under the water. My Hungry Jack's breakfast comes back up and covers all over me. And then I'm just, next thing I know, I'm on the beach, covered in sick, like with people just staring at me like, what is this loser doing? Yeah.
So Hungry Jack's, that was Burger King. That's the Australian Burger King. Is that
Is
right?
it Burger King?
I think it's. I
Yeah,
think.
same logo, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
I think
different
that's
name.
the Burger King.
Yeah. But yeah,
But
like,
yeah,
I hate sharks.
I
And
wasn't
like,
even in Australia that long, and I had already like accustomed to it. Like, oh, I'm being sent out by the sea. Oh well, it's just Australia, isn't it? I'm sure a wave will take me back soon.
I hate the sea and I hate sharks. And I only did the whole surfing thing because I was in Australia. I'll do it. Everyone else is doing it. Yeah,
But
like
yeah,
it still gives me shudders now thinking like about that. Like before I knew it's just cramp you had.
yeah, I do remember that. That was quite painful cramp, to be fair. I think it was in my hamstring or maybe my calf. I can't remember. But yeah, it was quite painful. But yeah, back to
To
Resident
Resident
Evil.
Evil.
So yeah, you had the shark, you had the snake, you had a plant.
Oh, I think I remember the plant,
Yeah. Um,
like Little Shop of Horrors.
yes. Yeah, basically. Um,
Yeah,
and then you had the tyrant, which was like the main last boss. Do you remember what the
was
tyrant
that
looks
in the?
like?
Yeah, I thought that was number 2.
There's a tyrant in number 2 as well.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if they call him a tyrant, but I just always refer to any boss that looks like a monster as a tyrant in Resident Evil.
Hmm. Those liquor things used to creep me out as
They're in number
well.
2.
Yeah. Blech.
Oh, for me, it's the hunters in Resident Evil 1 because after you go into the garden and then into the shed area, I guess, with the plant, when you come back
Yeah.
into the mansion, all of the zombies are replaced by hunters, and they can like one hit kill you, and they run and they jump, and
That's
it's yeah,
what ones are the hunters?
they're the
What do they look
green,
like?
the green ones that look a bit like
Beast from
monkeys.
X-Men.
Yeah, Beast from X-Men.
Yeah, I remember them now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were nasty. But yeah, loved the game. Really enjoy it. I played it actually quite recently, just because it
You
was
got
got
it on Xbox.
got on Xbox. Yeah, it was a game of gold like a few months ago, so I just picked it up for free.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's cool. I was gonna try and play it before the video to get the footage because I've got it on the Wii,
mm.
but I kept putting it off because every time I had free time was like late at night, and I'd have to be in the basement by myself late at night playing it, and I
Yeah.
was just like, I'll do it tomorrow, and
This
then
is
I never did.
this is the problem I'm having at the moment. Obviously, working full time, having a wife and a child, we're playing a few games at once.
Yeah,
So we have a game on Game Pass, and then we'll do a review or like play through a game on the Switch, and then we'll talk
yeah.
about an old GameCube game. I'm like, but I don't have the time to play all of them. So my reviews are based on like a half hour or an hour of gameplay.
Don't
but at
tell
least,
people that.
but at
Give away
least,
our secrets.
but at least with Resident Evil, I know I've completed it on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Are you ready for this quiz?
yeah, I am ready.
I think you should do quite well on this because you've actually told me a lot of the information that relate to the questions anyway.
Okay.
So as ever, 8 questions on the quiz.
hmm
Question 1, start off nice and easy. What is Resident Evil called in Japan?
Biohazard.
Yeah, a nice little Y for that. How many extra item slots does Jill have?
2.
Yep. A little Y for this. Storming it. Who directed the first Resident Evil game?
What, on the PS1?
Yeah.
Is it Shinji Mikami? I don't know if it is.
Yep.
Oh, is it?
Yep. He also directed Aladdin.
Yeah, I just thought he did the remake.
They did the original as well. What new type of zombie was added to the GameCube version that wasn't in the original PlayStation game?
A Crimson Head.
Yep. See? Look at you. This is going to be your first 8 out of 8, I reckon. What is the name of the human antagonist in the game?
Albert Wesker.
Yep. Well done. What is the name of the fictional company that created the zombies?
Umbrella.
Yep. Look at you go. What character in the game is best known for carrying a 44 Magnum?
Barry.
Yep.
Barry Byrne.
Yep.
You are almost a Jill sandwich.
Right, your last question. If you
Alright.
get this, you've got 8 out of 8.
Okay.
Okay. What characters appear on the UK box cover of the GameCube remake?
I'm not going to turn around. Is it just Jill and a zombie?
Is that your final answer? Or do you want to think more about it? It's a big deal. This could be
It's
your
either
first 8
that.
out of 8.
It's either that or no characters.
What are you going for?
Oh, I'm not going to turn around. I think the one I've got, I don't think has any characters on it. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go for that.
No characters?
Yeah.
That is correct. It was a trick question.
Because I think the American one's got.
The North American box has
Yeah.
Jill being attacked by a zombie on it, whereas the UK PAL version is just the
Like
logo and
red background.
brownie red
Yeah.
background. Yeah. 8 out of 8.
Come on, lads.
You did it. Should have set up some sort of prize for you.
Yeah.
Maybe the prize can be praise from the comments.
Or maybe I do the next quiz.
Oh yeah, we can probably swap round now, can't we? As you've achieved perfection.
Maybe, yeah.
I can get 1 out of 8 on your quizzes.
Okay, but then that means you have to look up the facts, because a lot of my answers come from the facts that I look up.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I can do facts. What's the next game?
I think it's Mario Sunshine.
Oh yeah, what a good game for me to have as well.
But yes, that is our reminiscent story of Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
It's a good impression.
Thanks. Been practicing.
Good. As mentioned in the facts section of this video, you can pick this up on Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Switch, on Steam, on PlayStation 3, 4, Xbox One, and Xbox. So you got no excuses to not play it. Stop this video now, play it, come back, like, subscribe, turn those notification bells on, comment below as to your favourite room on Resident Evil, and then we'll see you next time for Mario Sunshine.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.